When you are an empath, you might over-explain yourself to prove your point, and that comes from a deep-rooted program of people pleasing. You have to realize that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You have no obligation whatsoever. You don't need anyone's approval, and especially when you are an empath, you need boundaries, and boundaries require you to say no. You can't expect people to understand you. The more you try to prove why you are saying no, the less they will understand. You don't have to be always on the same page. Stop over explaining yourself. Stop trying to prove them why are you doing what you are doing. Because a lot of times empaths attract people who are narcissistic, who are toxic, and they won't understand you because they don't know anything about boundaries. So the more you are explaining them about all these things, it's like you are talking to a wall. So there's nothing to prove. Own who you are. Own your choices. Own your boundaries. Stop draining all your energy in trying to seek approval for the choices, for your boundaries. You have to be okay with disappointing some people, especially the toxic ones. You can't be on the same page with them. And if you don't own your boundaries by saying no, I can't take it anymore, and I have no obligation to prove anything to you, to seek your approval, then only you will become an empowered empath, a magnetic being. When you don't own who you are, your energy is not that strong. Anyone can enter your energy field because you won't be able to say no. You will just be explaining, and sooner or later people will find a loophole in that, and they will again enter through that loophole. So you have to be really firm about your choices. You have to stick to your boundaries, and you have to be okay with saying no. You have to be okay with not seeking approval from others, and that begins by giving approval to yourself, that I deserve boundaries, that I don't have to explain myself to everyone. And sometimes you don't even have to explain yourself. You are just creating a facade. You are just being kind, but not to yourself, to others, even when boundaries are needed there. So you have to realize, and you have to become conscious that from which space are you operating whenever you are interacting with someone, especially someone who is not good for your energy. Are you clear about the boundaries, or are they overstepping your energy? And one more thing is that by over explaining to others, what you're doing is actually you're trying to explain yourself that you are doing the right thing. But why not just be clear about your own intentions and not use the other person to explain yourself? Because that is manipulative if you look at the core of it. And you may even start lying if you are not sure why you are saying no. If you don't have the roots really strong, the intention really strong, the ego can hijack the experience because you are too afraid to speak your truth. Sometimes just saying no is enough, not the why I am saying no. That part is about approval. When you just say no, you are clear. You know what you're doing. You know yourself. Then the ego can't manipulate you. Then the ego will not try to explain itself through explaining others. It will not try to prove itself through trying to prove to others. There is nothing to prove. You are who you are, just be that. The more you are trying to prove others, it just shows that your ego feels that there is something to prove, that what you're doing is not valid. You need approval for that. You need a authority. That's how we have been conditioned, that someone will tell us that we are doing the right thing. Then only it is valid. We can't use our own discernment to do anything in life. So you have to break this conditioning, become aware of it, and give yourself the permission to step into your power. Give yourself the permission to say no without explaining the why. Own your energy and respect your energy. The only way to break this people-pleasing program is to be courageous enough to stop seeking validation. And that can only happen when you put yourself first, when you give yourself the approval, the self-approval, the self-validation that comes from self-love. So if you are someone who always try to prove a point, this is your sign that you don't have to prove anything. And whatever choice you make, they are valid. You don't need anyone's approval. Love yourself enough to embrace your boundaries. Much love to you all.